What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Redendron Show, and this beautiful place here is sponsored by Any Taxi. Today we have here Aditya Chettri, who is one of the most talented musicians that I know of. He's a graded violinist, graded pianist, and graded guitarist. A lot of talent.
Thank you so much for having me here, Tadinda.
So you've recently completed ATCL. What is ATCL, by the way?
ATCL is Associate of Trainee at Trinity College of Music.
Okay.
It is like having a bachelor degree in music, some sort of thing like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you've completed it.
Yes.
ATCL, a bachelor's degree in ATCL. So, how many people have completed ATCL out here in the Northeast?
Right now we have quite few actually.
Quite few.
Yeah, like this year. In 2018 we were only like 14-15 of us completing the course. Yes.
Okay, so you are one of the very few people who have done a bachelor's degree in music.
Yeah. And not very few, like before it was very common, but nowadays people are more oriented towards music production and like more into like production side. So they go for diploma in production and all. But I prefer to go for music composition, the real part.
Okay, that's nice. And you also happen to be a student,
Yes.
An engineering student in SMIT.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure it's a lot technical thing out there.
Yes, it's
Like,
very.
Does it kind of match with music learning, or is it a totally different thing? Like, how do you balance if it's a totally different thing?
It is a totally different thing. But like you have to do like somehow, have that mindset like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So in both the things you have to try and give you 100%, That's like time management.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So do you think that you have to invest fully on one side of the thing, or will you always be balancing those two things together, engineering and your music career?
It is better to focus on one thing. But in our situation, especially in our country, especially in our place, we have to do both the things, because like if you want to do it, is fine, like you can go and do one thing, but once you are in a society, living in a society, and there is like 80% chance of getting failed
Yes.
in what you follow. Because people don't believe it.
Okay, so engineering is like a cushion.
Engineering is like a cushion actually.
Okay.
And nothing much more, like it is like a normal study, engineering, but like music is more towards like technical, emotional aspect, and I feel like musicians are more like a hybrid of technicality and emotional being. Like musicians are never like emotional, neither technical. To be a successful musician, you have to learn both the technical, technical and emotional part. So that is one of the most unique feature of musician in arts.
So engineering also kind of helps you to be a little bit technical. Does it?
Like bit flexibility with thinking and all.
Oh yeah. But that is required.
That is very much
required. To be a good musician, you need to have that level of.
Because like if you just follow like this music, you will be a musician. Just a musician.
But an emotional one.
Yeah, but a very emotional, and you won't think much about how your music is going to be affected by somebody, because like at the end of the day, what you write, what you compose, what you produce, it means like it's coming through you.
Okay.
Definitely you will like, but you don't know how much others would like,
Okay.
But if you have a social life, because musicians are always isolated and they want to be away from so but if you have some other course like engineering, any other course which is a bit socializing, there is a big chance of improvement in the personality also.
Okay, so it's like an overall growth.
Yeah, overall growth. Yes.
So if someone were to put a gun to your head, and what would you choose? Music, like if you had to take only one field.
Definitely music would be the thing.
Music,
Yeah.
So as you talked about it earlier, that being a good musician requires technicality as well as to be able to understand your emotions and letting it out in a proper manner. So what is the process actually like
the main thing in music is like you need to internalize. In every field, I find like you need to take something inside in such a way that it goes to your subconscious part. Like for example, learning a language, when we learn our mother language, Nepali, what we do is like we listen to it, we try to imitate it, and with time it just naturally it comes.
Okay.
So that is what internalizing is like. We hear it, we repeat it, again we hear it, repeat it. It makes a process like that is called internalization. So if any art, like not only just music, if one can like see, look at it, hear it and imitate it, it makes possible that it goes into a subconscious part in such a way that it becomes easier, because like music is also a language. Any other art is a language, in fact. Like it has music has grammar, everything, like everything is there, like related to what we learn as English as a language. Music has its own grammar, own things. Yes.
How important is it to understand the technicality? There are musicians who are musicians by ear, right? Yeah, even I play guitar and I have a little bit of knowledge, but not that technical. How important do you think it is to understand the tidbits?
To emphasize in a particular feeling, to create a sense of particular feeling, you need to have a bit of theory. I am not saying like you should be bound by theory or something, but theory is like a parent, like it will guide you. It is not everything, but it will help you to go in a level where you can say like, oh, this is what I should be doing, right? This is the thing that I should be doing it. And it is all about like breaking the rules at the end. Theories are all the rules that you have to follow for some time, but after that, when you start breaking the rules and making your own thing, that is what creativity in music is all about. And about a question like playing by ear or something like that, it is like you can do that also, definitely. But like if you have a basic knowledge, you can like talk with other musicians from other parts of the world, if you know how to notate music.
Okay, to break the rules you have to know the rules.
Yes.
Okay.
The thing is that first, like many people say that you have to think outside the box, but nobody has wondered what is inside the box. So you have to think sometimes inside the box, then outside the box.
Only then you will be able to understand it and able to express it in a way that you want to express.
Yeah, universally, like if you have an idea and if you want one of your friends from Vienna or somebody to play your piece, then you should write in such a way that is understandable to her, like notations, standard notations, music notations. And we have so many things, in music, like it is not one single thing. Like it is, I think, quite a subject full of, like infinite resources. Every time I read something, there is an idea that I get, like ornamentations we have, in music, portamento, diminuendo, dynamics, and all, So all these things, they make music. Music is not like theory, totally theory based. You have to lose yourself, lose one of your identity as yourself to music. Then only you can, receive one or some of the identities of music that you want. Because at the end of the day, music is any art, any subject is about adding value to yourself. Values. It can be anything. And nowadays our youth is more into production and they want to be famous and earn a lot of money through music. I have no problem with that, but the main thing is like the psychology or the mentality with what they are doing, with music. Because if you follow music purely, like very honestly, the nature of music is fame and money. It comes naturally. It's so natural. But if you are looking for just fame and money and restricting yourself to that thing, fame and money, I think you won't go further, quite further, in music. I think so, like that.
Music is beyond the pop culture that is prevailing these days, right?
Yeah, it's very much beyond. Like if you listen to, before pop came, the first music that ever came was like, the pentatonic scale, like
Do, re, mi, fa, so,
Yeah.
la, ti, do.
no, like there are just 5 notes which are said like we inherit from our ancestors. That's why like if we make music through pentatonic scales, right? 5 notes, just 5 notes. We say like those music can be a hit song or something, like especially if you listen to pop song and all, they follow the same pattern.
Yeah, pentatonic.
Yeah.
4 chords.
Yeah, like just 5, right? 5 notes, just chords are arranged. So that is the effect of pentatonic. But later on, when classical music came from the West, it had a different effect. Like there are eras: Baroque era, Romantic era, then post-Romantic, and all those things. And right now we have the great film music in the Western culture, American culture, European culture. We have composers like Alexander Desplat, Hans Zimmer, using the same traditions, Western traditions, but with a modern, outlook. In India also we are having a very good, music scenario.
This is totally off bat, okay? But can you write a pop song? If you had to.
Yeah, definitely we can. Yeah, like see, like the main thing is like it is not one thing. Like arranging is something different thing. Then making a song, writing a song is a different field.
How long would it require for you to make a pop song?
Maybe a week.
A week?
Yes. If there are like musicians with whom I'm working for quite a long time, it might even decrease to a day.
How long would it take for you to make a music that you normally prefer?
It take months, like sometimes years also. Like I have some compositions which are stuck even like after 2 years, 3 years. Like it's just in a process of getting it. Some like once that idea hits me, like I can make it. Like I can work it in 3 days. Some takes months, and I'm thinking like some are taking years from me. Quite a project, like quite because like it should be very precise,
So time is not the constraint for you. It's about the completion. It's about the meaning that you're trying to send out.
Yes.
Okay.
Like it should be meaningful. It should be well arranged, well produced. Everything should be perfect at the most. We have certain like things like imperfections, which helps us to define our art as like, it is human, in nature. If you make such a perfect music, such a perfect art, it'll be so robotic, artificial. I think people won't feel it, but you should have a bit of mistakes also, imperfections also. That'll make your pieces perfect.
Okay, so imperfections kind of make the music a perfect piece.
Yes.
Okay, so you have mastered 3 instruments. That is piano, and then there's guitar, and then there's violin. What is your take on all those 3 instruments, and how do they relate to each other?
Like music is made of like 12 notes basically, but the problem with if there are constraints like each instrument. If you look at the violin, it is just like 3 octaves instrument, okay? And even guitar is 3 octave to like 3.5, sometimes 4 octave instrument. So what happens is like you can play the full thing that you want. You have a constraint, like you have a very specified notes. But on the piano, like though it is a very 88 key instrument, around 8 octave, around sometimes let's say 7 octave. Normally what I play is 6.5 octave. And what happens is like I miss that effect. There's an effect in violin called the portamento.
What is it?
Portamento means like when you go from one note to another, you connect the 2 notes. Like na, right?
Okay. Kind of like the sustain effect.
No, not the sustain. Like when you join 2 notes, na. While on the piano, you can't do that because a piano is called called tempered. No.
Okay.
So all those things.
You cannot connect those 2 notes together in a piano. Okay.
And I feel like sometimes if the violin had frets, it would have been very easy to play. But we don't have that facility. like the guitar. So every instrument has a, you know, pros and cons at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. How does piano and guitar differ?
Piano and guitar.
One thing you told is the fret issue.
On the one is like timbre. The sound is quite different.
Okay. The material.
Yeah, material. Yeah. And actually, piano has a very contradictory place in the orchestra. You know, many people say, like the classical musicians, they say that it is a string instrument, like the violin, guitar, anything, cello, you know, double bass. But if you look at from jazz point of view, you know, piano is said to have both the qualities, strings as well as percussive, like drums and all.
Okay.
Because piano has both the qualities actually. And here mainly in our region, piano is treated as a string instrument. But most of the time, when I am playing jazz and all, I see it as more sort of percussive instrument, you know, rhythmic and all those things. Yeah.
Okay. So, about your music career, like there must be people who have taught you, who have guided you in this field.
Actually, my mom actually, you know, started giving me vocal lessons, Hindustani classical, Indian classical vocal lessons, bit when I was.
Okay, your mother is a musician.
Yes, 3-4. But not total musician, but she guided me. Even she knows very less. And after that, I wanted to learn the violin somehow, so I joined a violin class. So after 3 years, I did my graded, surprisingly, and that was the first graded that happened after 3 years in that you know, class.
How old were you?
I was in class 4.
You were in class 4 when
yes.
You finished your graded.
Yes. And after that, I got a small like scholarship kind of thing, like I think you should pursue your violin, but with like my parents were like a bit afraid. And
Why were they afraid?
Yeah, like maybe like I want, you know, the stereotype, you know, right? So it happened like that. Then from class 4, suddenly I was more interested in guitar because one of my uncle, he plays guitar, jazz guitar and all. So actually, I got fascinated by jazz, you know. Then I started doing jazz classes, you know, from Trinity only till grade 8. Till grade 4, it was totally classical. Then 5, 6, 7, 8 was jazz. So my uncle taught me jazz, then in guitar. Then I completed that. Then when I came around class 9 and all, before that I was playing the piano, but not very, you know, formal training and all. But from 9 I was trained very formally.
Okay.
In just like 2 years, 9, 10, 11, I think in class 11 I did my graded in piano. Then I took rest for a while, more into composing and all, read some books and all. Then totally got immersed in jazz, you know, like Quincy Jones, Brad Miller, you know, Hiromi Uehara, all those artists, you know. I listened to them. Then after that, I thought of, you know, like I should enter into production and all. So I tried a bit of softwares from FL to, you know, Cubase, Pro Tools. Now I'm using Ableton because bit stable and all. Then from after joining SMIT, I was enrolled in ATCL. So I did my ATCL from Trinity only. It took me 2 years to do my ATCL. With that thing, I was doing from Berkeley also, online course.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Did you complete it?
Yeah, this year only I completed it.
Okay, what course was it?
It was on music composition.
I've heard Berkeley from John Mayer. Is it true? John Mayer completed his education from Berkeley, right?
Yes.
And then there's Charlie Puth also, I guess.
Yes. Charlie Puth, yes. So many like big artists, they have come from Berkeley. So it was an online course in music composition. I completed that thing. It helped me a lot. You know, like I prefer, like if not in just Trinity, people should go for, you know, online courses. Good institute like Berkeley, Manhattan College of Music, Curtis Institute of Music, and all this thing.
So you don't have any instrument with you right now here. Can you give a jazz lesson without an instrument? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible. Like, but you need to know like a bit theory.
Like for a totally, for someone as beginner as me.
Okay. Jazz is more sort of like, we call this concept of improvising.
Okay.
Okay. So if I have to formally like introduce what jazz is all about, it is like speaking. Like what you and me, what we are doing is speaking.
Okay, we're playing jazz right now.
Yeah, like what we are doing is like simply, we don't have any sort of script content right now. We are just improvising through our subconscious vocabulary of words that we have, ideas that we have.
Man, I'm playing jazz right now.
Yeah. So in a way, jazz is very similar to that. Okay. To be able to play jazz, you have to internalize music.
Okay. To be able to improvise.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Then you have some, you have to study music, like like it is, I think, harder than doing medical thing. Sometimes I feel it, because like you have to fight sometimes, like you have to read music. You undergo through an emotion change through that music, but you want to play sometimes a different sort of music, but you have to play it because it is in a curriculum, right? And it helps you to maintain some sort of decorum inside yourself, like, oh yeah, this is how a human being should be, like like human being, we have a lot of desires unfulfilled, which is the cause of suffering. Every desire is not cause of suffering, this unfulfilled desires are the cause of suffering, right? So what one of the most important thing that music has taught me is like, you have desires, everybody has a sort of desire, but it is just about controlling it, and placing it in such a time that you feel content, like, okay, like you have to wait, patience, patience, you have to have patience. Like you can't be a pianist in a day or even a month or a year. It takes a lot of hard work, and you have to undergo a lot of curriculum, exercise, and everything. A lot of curriculums are there. Before when I was quite small, I used to practice for 8 hours, 9 hours violin. Then I brought it back to now I practice for 2 hours, 3 hours. Actually, my mother wanted me to be a concert pianist, or more towards like playing recitals of Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, and all, with the orchestra.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, they come like this, the thing. So my mother wanted me to be like that, but I couldn't be because I was more towards jazz, jazz, arranging and all, composing. I wanted to have my own composition and all those things.
Who are your idols in music?
In music, I think people haven't heard about them much, but they are very, they have contributed a lot of things, like people like Brad Mildrew, Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock, Hiromi Uehara, Joey DeFrancisco, Chick Corea, one of the most idolized pianists, I think jazz pianists in the whole world. Then from India we have Zakir Hussain, Trilok Kurtu. They have contributed like immense, like in this world of music, and one should, I think, have very great deal of respect. Yeah. They have like what I can feel, what I like. If every like person could understand a bit of music, I think our Indian culture would have been more, I think, colorful musically.
When I used to study or like work, I used to listen to Miles Davis, and like it actually, like you told, an emotional outrage inside you.
Yes.
And then like you tend to do a lot more in that frame of mind.
Yes, like it is all about fighting, like why people don't like jazz, because somewhere it hits your emotion in the wrong way, or like re-triggers your emotion. You feel like irritated sometimes when you listen to that because you don't get the thing, you can connect. But if you build that thing, with time, you'll see like, oh, jazz is such a wonderful art. It is not something very irritating thing. irritating music or
Sort of
something.
like meditating.
Very meditating, in fact, like very meditating, in fact. Yes, music has like two aspects. I feel, right now. One is meditating part, like Indian classical. It's totally meditational, like you just listen to it, feel it, internalize it, while Western classical also has meditation part, but they are more into technical, and they want to fully explore the emotions, anger, power, everything is there. And like there are differences actually. Our Indian culture is also quite a good one. Like Indian classical music is such a wonderful music. Why? Because like Indian classical music doesn't have harmony. Harmony means like movement, chords and all, movement of notes from one, like up down, so some sort of like that. Then harmony, Indian classical doesn't have harmony. In Indian classical we have drones. It's called a da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Just this thing gets repeated, fifth octave in the root note, it just gets repeated, and the musicians they improvise on this very, the way it should be. In Indian classical we have concepts of raga, rag, ragini and all, tala. Rag means like a certain scale, there's a particular rule. There are two rules of doing raga. You can't do just like that, you have to avoid certain notes to create a sense of mood. While in Western classical it is not much of that. We have some exotic scales, like later on in jazz we have Ionian, Dorian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, all these modes are there. But after these are the basic modes, apart from major and minor. Then apart from that you have you have to undergo through some musical exotic scales in Western music, like Locrian, flat 5, sharp 11. So all these scales are very exotic, but if you use it in a right way, you tend to create a very right set of mode, all those things.
From a local standpoint, what do you think of the music scene out here in Northeast, mostly the hills, Darjeeling, Kalimpong, Sikkim?
Like mostly like people are oriented towards catchy music, I can specify a genre like rock, funk or something, but people are more oriented now towards catchy music because they don't have time to think, patience, have patience to wait and see what this music is going to evolve or have meaning. They want to have a hook, a catchy, something, chorus or something.
That doesn't require a lot of thinking.
Yeah, that doesn't require a lot of thinking. So in a way, we have become lazy.
Lazy. Yes. So before starting this podcast, you were talking about super learning.
Oh yeah.
And you are trying to dive into those aspects. So what is it about?
Super learning is all about like if like using time in efficient way as much as you can, and study as possible as you can, like using different elements like mind mapping, mind markers and all.
So it's sort of playing music with life, using time.
Yeah, because like like time is the most valuable commodity or asset that you can say. I think valuable than if people say that nothing is valuable than money, I think they're quite wrong and stupid, right?
And that's I actually think that's a very great revelation that you've taken from music about time and its value.
Yeah, it's because like I have to do my engineering thing with music. It's a bit tedious sometimes, Sometimes you get demotivated.
But you think it's just the jazz music playing in the background. Right?
Yeah. And sometimes I love to, be isolated, and yeah, I need time for myself a lot. Almost every day I need maybe like around 4 hours, 5 hours alone, solitude, total. Because like an art or anything that you want to do something in life, requires a solitude. even if you're in a relationship or whatever, I don't know, but if you want to do something great in life, you need to think a bit, plan a bit, so all these things.
Yeah, in today's age we have been like fed with this idea that we have to be constantly happy, like pleasure, seeking pleasures all the time. And I actually agree to you when you say ki you require conscious solitude at times.
It's very important to know yourself, like not in a very not each and everything about you, but things that you want to do, and like where are you in your life, because like all these things, relationships, going with somebody, going with spending time with others, you'll know yourself. I know that, but nobody knows better than you yourself. If you want to know, if you ask yourself, do you know me? Like, do I know you? I think it'll be a very answer full of dilemma for me.
And that can be achieved only when you will be able to ask yourself honest questions in solitude. Yes. And people don't want to do that because it's terrible and it's painful.
That's painful.
Sit alone.
Because every person has their sides, light side, dark side, and when you tend to have a day which is quite low for you, and when you go through a process that that shifts you to the darker side, I think at that time you feel like oh, I'm bad, demotivated every time.
It should not be bad.
Yeah, it shouldn't be bad because it is coming from you. No matter what, bad or good, it's coming from you.
Yeah.
It is you. So accept it.
Yeah.
Right?
No person is good all the time.
Yeah, no person is good all the time. Like the thing is like the most important thing is like self-acceptance.
Yeah.
You may have your friends, you may have things, they will accept you what you are. But if you haven't accepted yourself as what you are, you're in a very difficult position in life, very awkward.
The yin and the yang.
Yes. So it is, I can't say it is a balance also, but it is a natural thing, whatever comes through you, bad, good, it is from your side.
Yeah.
And you should never feel like pity on yourself, never push hard, There's a famous book by, Kenny Werner, I forgot the name of the book. It is a very beautiful book. I think one should read, it is meant for everyone, not only just for musicians, The book has a very simple message that, you should never push yourself hard. You should enjoy the process of being something, Not only just a musician, a dancer or an educator or something. Just enjoy the process. And, don't think a lot or don't push so hard that I have to do this. Just enjoy it. You'll feel free, you'll feel good, you'll feel the meaning coming out of it slowly. You can if you read a book, you can expect yourself that if you're reading a book on philosophy, what I find when I read a book is like it has a very subjective.
It's not like you are reading the author, you are reading yourself when you're reading a book.
You find yourself, you're like, it's very subjective. It is a subjective topic, like subjective things. It is not like, after reading a book, I'll understand this. Even with the concepts that we go on, like we have studied in physics or any other subject, it is very subjective. A teacher might teach in his way, but at the end of the day, we have to learn it in such a way that we understand, what we are taking it by ourselves, our knowledge. A teacher is so mature that he can, use so diddly, concepts and make you understand. But you are in the process of learning it. You are not that mature. You haven't got every knowledge that you want to, get a reference to that concept. But you have to build something from your side right now, which is meaningful to that concept so that you get it. So it is life is a subjective thing, very subjective thing, full of choices, that will affect you in a good way, bad way, but it should go on.
Can you tell us about the places you have performed in?
I started my performance from school. I studied in Northern School, Darjeeling. Then the first show I did was in class around 4, where I had to do recital, of my graded piece. I remember that day because I didn't want to go to a stage because I was quite shy kind of guy. My piano teacher literally had to push me to the stage, so I went there. Then after that, things happened, and started performing here and there, in Northeast and Shillong. Then after that, I happened to be in Mumbai and Chennai, playing for some arrangers and composers. Worked with some few composers and all. And after that, I performed in this cadenza. It's called cadenza. Cadenza is a band in Nepal. We have a jazz fest in Nepal, in Kathmandu. So I have been there like 3 times. Then recently we are having some jazz fest in India also. So been there. Then I happen to represent my country in 2 of the jazz fests, one in Hong Kong, and the second one in I think Myanmar. For SAARC nations, represented it.
That's good stuff, man.
And then after that, I just wanted to, after that, no more shows, concentrate on myself because I was losing myself, losing my values, losing my self, health, everything. Even music in a way. I was getting oriented towards audience, not myself, not my type of music. So I have been performing well right now. I haven't been performing in like international stages for about 5 years. More focus on myself, doing composition and all. So I have a plan. I'm thinking of releasing my solo album by this year, but I don't know when, but this year.
Have you written songs?
Yes.
Will it be a song with lyrics or will it just be instrumental?
It's instrumental. Then I have a band. With my band also we are making some few songs like EP this year.
Okay.
Maybe.
And the band will be doing an instrumental thing or?
No, band will be having with the
with lyrics.
Yeah, vocals and.
So in India, who are the people you admire in music?
We have people like Clinton Cerezo who are doing great music. Clinton Cerezo, Ram Sampath, A.R. Rahman. Really, they are doing a lot of things, contributing a lot to the music thing. And recently I encountered this composer called Amit Trivedi, who is a very, good composer in a way. Very young composer, but very good composer. He has worked in films like Udan and all those things.
How about Northeast?
In Northeast we have, we are more oriented towards band, not like composing as a whole. They are none in fact I've seen in Northeast who are into very serious kind of composing. They're more sort of oriented towards band, sing, rock.
Audience.
Yeah, on-bill is always there. So they're more oriented towards all those things. Fame, money, right? But what I prefer is if you have passion, if you really want to do music, you have to undergo some changes in your psychology, mental kind of health state. You will become a very different person. Not that different, also, but a bit different. If you have internalized music, if you have got that value, what that music wants you to have from it, then things becomes quite sometimes complex, but at the same time you'll feel good.
Thank you so much for coming to our show, and best of luck for your album.
Thank you so much for Redendron for having me. it's such a wonderful, honor and everything. Tubinda is always, encouraging.
Best of luck
Thank
for
you.
your future.